I'm 47 and male, and I've been married to my wife Lexi for the last 2 years. This is my second marriage. The first one did not last very long, and after being single for almost 7 years, I found solace in Lexi. She also had a similar fate in her first marriage, and hence we both connected instantly. Dated for 2 years and decided to marry. I have a son from my first marriage who's currently in college. My wife had, his custody, but I was allowed to meet him whenever I wanted to. I agreed to have her custody, and she agreed to let me meet him. It was an amicable decision, you could say. Since he's in college now and a different city, we don't really meet as often. Coming to Lexi, she has a daughter who's 20, named Rene. From her first marriage, I tell you, she is the center of my problem and the reason why I'm writing this here today, Rene. It all started 4 years back when I first met Lexi and Rene. I was camping in Montana, and so were they. They were there to celebrate Rene's 16th birthday party, and I just, was there relaxing. We were a part of a camping group. Somehow, during the camp, Lexi and I started chit-chatting. We connected instantly, and since we were part of a group, we were mostly put up together. We hiked together, had breaks, dinners, bonfires together, you name it. That's when we realized that we both had a similar past, and we both are at a stage of our life where we just want to move ahead with it. Since Lexi was traveling with her daughter, I was conservation in my moves. But Lexi made advances towards me. After the trek, she came to my tent to spend the rest of the evening, and she would ask me to have dinner together, and some other body language signals. I'm not an idiot. So, in the end, we exchanged our numbers. In between all these, there was someone who was very unhappy about the whole stuff. It was Rene. She was possessive about Lexi and did not like her closeness with me at all. She blamed me for ruining her birthday trip because apparently her mom was more keen on spending time with me than her. When Lexi told me about this, I laughed at her childishness. She was 16 then, and it's understandable for a teenager to be possessive about their parents, right? Even if her mother was divorced, she did not like her talking to other men. She thought that she would lose her importance in Lexi's life. Later, I got to know that Rene's possessiveness was the reason Lexi did not see anyone. Even after 10 years of her divorce, I felt terrible for her. Back in town, since our place was 11 miles away, we used to meet quite often. Our attraction was mutual, and Lexi did not inform Rene that we were seeing each other because Rene lost her mind whenever Lexi brought up the topic of a man. She told me how she had let go of her colleague whom she liked, and it could have turned into something a little serious, really. But Rene was adamant that Lexi should not see another man. Rene was 12 years old at that time, so Lexi prioritized her well-being. We dated for 2 years, since Lexi was living with her daughter, and I never went to visit the house, except for a couple instances when Rene was out of town. Lexi was scared that if Rene got to know, she would let loose the hell on her. So, Lexi used to visit my house because I was living alone. Lexi was waiting for Rene to turn 18 to reveal our relationship. She thought that Rene would move out of her college, and probably then she would understand Lexi's perspective and give her the space that she needed. Lexi was wrong. Rene was an entitled, self-centered person, and she never thought about the loneliness and hardship of Lexi, who worked 2 jobs to give a decent lifestyle to Rene. Instead of being grateful to her mother and helping her out by sharing the responsibility, she was just there putting a leash on her mother. Rene did not intend to go to college. She was happy to lounge on her mother's income, and I told Lexi to confront Rene about studying or at least taking up a job because she was 18 by then. When Lexi discussed it with Rene, she said that she was not interested in studying further. Lexi asked her that if she was done with her studies, she should take up a job to help her out. Rene replied that Lexi was fit enough to work for the next 4 to 5 years and could provide for both. Meanwhile, she would, quote, hunt for a man who would take care of both of them. Really? What kind of girl she was? Rene's behavior would have reflected Lexi's character, but I had known her enough to not judge her. She never took a penny from me. She split the bills whenever we went out, and whenever I gifted her something, she ensured to gift me something of a similar price range. It's, well, kind of crazy. Lexi is a woman of self-respect. Soon after Rene turned 18, I insisted Lexi reveal our relationship because we both wanted to get married and take it to the next level. I explained to her that Rene was an adult, and that if she did not understand that her mother at that time, she would never understand her. I mean, how old do you need to be to understand that your parents are also humans and need a partner? Lexi was hesitant and somewhat scared because of how Rene had reacted in the past. Finally, one day, Lexi mustered up the courage and informed Rene about the relationship. As expected, Rene brought down the house, cursed me, and called me all sorts of names to Lexi. I don't know what happened in between, and Lexi censored a lot of information about her daughter's tantrums. She really did. Of course, she did not want me to know how much of a monster Rene really was. So, 2 weeks into this, I get a call from Lexi that Rene wanted to meet me. We took it to be a bit positive, right? I met her with a fresh slate. She laid out some ground rules for me that I would never try to become her father. She would only have one guardian, example, her mother, and, well, I would never interfere between them, and I agreed. I know a lot of men would have run from a woman who had children like Rene. It had happened with Lexi as well in the past, where Rene had chased the men out of Lexi's life. So I did not want to punish her because of her daughter. I loved Lexi, so I took the chance. We got married, and I moved in with them, and Rene had also laid a condition that I would have to move in with them. The lease of my house was going to expire in the next few months anyway, so I didn't see a problem in moving in with them at all. For the first year, Rene and I barely talked or shared the dining table. She even distanced herself from her mother. Soon after the marriage, I asked Lexi to quit her job and rest for a while because she had worked for 10 hours a day for the last several years. Besides, I was doing good financially, and my business was stable and had no loans or any major expenses, to be honest, so I decided to take care of Lexi and her daughter. Although Lexi was not ready to let me leave the entire burden, I insisted that she takes a break for a few months and that if she wanted to work, she could take up some time relaxing ones later. A few months ago, Lexi and I celebrated our 2nd anniversary. While my marriage has been going smoothly, my relationship with Rene has not improved a bit. So, a month ago, Lexi told me that she wanted to go on a trip with her college girlfriends. I was happy to see her enjoying her life. However, for some reason, Rene was reluctant that Lexi was going with her girlfriends. She had a weird notion of these trips. She said that these group of middle-aged women usually fell prey to scammers and young men. Rene wanted to accompany Lexi, but this time Lexi put her foot down and refused to take orders from Rene. I don't know why this girl acts like a parent to her mother. I supported Lexi and her decision, which made Rene so mad. After Lexi left for the trip last week, Rene was usually just keeping her distant from me and had been trying to get into arguments and fights with me over anything and everything possible. She doesn't lift a finger in the house. And in Lexi's absence, she wanted me to cook for her. I refused to cook for a 20-year-old jobless person. Since then, she's been picking fights with me, and she's left the refrigerator door open, which spoiled everything in there, and she comes home late and does not lock the main door. She would bring food parcels from outside and create a mess in the house. So, I tolerated it for a week because I did not want to get into a fight with her, especially when Lexi was not around. She is an evil girl, capable of framing me, but when it went out of control, I told her that she needed to behave like an adult. She was not 10 years old anymore, and oh my goodness, the way she pounced on me like a tiger on her prey. I felt like falling into her trap. She hurled all these abuses and curses at me for marrying her mother. She accused me of manipulating Lexi against her. I'm no nonsense type person, and I did not like the idea of arguing with an immature girl, so I just sat there waiting for her to be done. Once she was finished, I asked her why she hated me so much, and she said that she hated me because I married her mom. She could not bear to share her mother with anyone. I asked her, well, since we were married, what should I do to help her feel better? I asked her this question to simply calm her down, to make her feel better. And that I wanted to mend things, and she replied bluntly that if I had the slightest bit of self-respect, I should leave. I was shocked at her words. Leave? So I did what Lexi has been doing all these years. Obey Rene. I packed my stuff and I left. Lexi calls me every night, but I've not told her anything about what has happened in her absence, and I don't want to spoil her vacation. She deserves this break, and I hope her stupid daughter realizes this and does not open her mouth. She is going to be back next week, and I don't know how she's going to handle this situation because honestly, she has not done a good job in handling Rene all these years. So I have little hope for her. Honestly, I don't want to jeopardize my marriage because of Rene, and I'm sure if we do stay together, she's going to try all means to spoil it, for real. I'm thinking that once Lexi is back, I'll ask her to confront Rene that she's now grown and has to behave like a grown-up. First of all, she needs to get a job or so build a life for herself, and stop putting her foot in our matters. I don't know how better to handle this situation. Anyone facing or faced a similar dilemma would love to take advice from you. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's story is actually jam-packed with updates. There's quite a few to get into, and you guys will not believe what Rene has up her sleeve. If you guys are new to the channel and you want daily videos, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Let's jump into update number 1. Hey there. I've had quite a few updates for you guys, and a week after my post when Lexi returned from her trip to find me out of the house, she asked Rene about it. Thank goodness she had the spine to speak the truth. She said that I tried to school her for her behavior, so she asked me to move out of the house. By the way, I did not try to school her, but whatever. Rene also went on to say that she hated sharing her mother with another man and asked Lexi to divorce me. I'm sure that there would have been a lot more arguments, but this is what Lexi told me. Lexi called and apologized to me profusely on behalf of Rene. I sent her my location and she was there in an hour. I rented a condo for a few months because I've made up my mind that Lexi had to fix things with her daughter before we moved in together. She was shocked that I rented a condo instead of checking into a hotel. She asked me to return with her to the house, but I refused. I told her that I loved her dearly, but I could not stay in that house with Rene unless she fixed her attitude. Lexi promised that Rene would apologize for her behavior, but I said that I was not looking for a mere apology. I wanted her to fix her life. I clarified to Lexi that I did not need her money, but she needed to start taking her life seriously, take up a job or study if she wanted to, and Lexi sat in disappointment because she knew that it would be hard for her to deal with her daughter. I ensured that our strict measures were important for Rene. She went back to the house and assuring me that she would speak to Rene, and I wished her luck. A few days later, I checked with Lexi to see if she had any luck in speaking with Rene. She said she tried, but Rene was adamant about not sharing a roof with me. I realized that I had to take the matters into my own hands, and no, I did not take a stand for Lexi. I wanted to take a stand for myself, because I was the breadwinner of the home. I was paying the rent, electricity, and all the bills. If she did not want to stay with me or wanted her mother to be separated, she had to deal with the bills herself. The next day, I went to the house and Rene starts yelling at me in my sight, asking me to get lost from her home. I said that I wasn't there to stay, but to inform them that I was not going to pay any further cents to the bills. Neither the rent nor any of the bills. Plus, I'm taking my car, which I gifted to Lexi when we married. They didn't have a car of their own, and Rene froze upon hearing those words. Lexi starts crying because she had quit her job and was working with an NGO. I told Lexi that I was there to take her with me because she was my wife, but I would not put up with the disrespectful children. I would have done the same if my son was so arrogant. I would have cut him off completely. Clearly, I laid a choice for Lexi. It was either me or her daughter. I know I would be called a selfish man, but I did not find any better solution to the problem. I could not be the doormat to anyone anymore. Lexi was too shocked and, well, to even react. And so I asked her to take time and decide, and they went ahead and said they still had a few days left in the month before the rent and bills would be due for the next month. I did not call Lexi for a couple of days. I did not want to manipulate her, so I gave her the time that she truly needed. If she had chosen her daughter over me, I would happily move on. I texted her the same, that I would wait for her decision, but she did not say anything. A week later, Lexi shows up at my condo, and as soon as she saw me, she hugged me and started to cry. It looked like she was in deep pain. After crying her heart out, she told me what happened in the last week. Soon after I left, Lexi asked Rene to call and apologize to me. But Rene turned defensive and said that they did not need my favors and brushed off Lexi. For the next few days, Lexi tried to confront Rene to make her understand the situation. She told her that they had two choices, either to fix things with me or take charge of their life. Rene kept avoiding the conversation until that day when Lexi lost her mind and taught Rene the lesson of her life. You see, Lexi said that she had sacrificed her happiness for Rene's sake for all these years, and whatever was going wrong between them, I think I mentioned that in my original post. Well, instead of being remorseful, Rene questioned Lexi's character for remarrying me. That's right. Rene said, and I quote, "What's the big deal about that man? You never cried for my father like you're doing now. Is he that good in bed that you can't stay without him? I'm glad that wicked man left. You're still young, Mom. You don't have to take up 2 jobs, which you were doing. Why can't you pay the bills like you did before the man crawled into your bed?" I felt like throwing up. How could someone be so narcissistic? Lexi slapped Rene and left the house. I told her that she was wrong to think that I would have forgiven Rene if she apologized because I knew that girl was not going to mend her ways. Lexi's staying with me currently, but she's not moved out of the house completely. She still has her stuff in the house. I feel bad to see her sad face and cries. I mean, sometimes I do feel that I'm tearing her down from her daughter. But, after all, children are the most precious things in our life. And Rene was the only child of Lexi. I understand her pain, and I felt the same pain when I had to give custody of my son to my first wife. Is there anything better I could do in this situation? I'm really at a loss now. Update number 2. After staying for a week with me, Lexi went back to her house. I'm not sure whether she went there to pack her stuff and move out, or if she wanted to take one chance with Rene. But as soon as she went inside the house, Rune pounced on Lexi and called her all sorts of names. She accused her of torturing her father and divorcing him. She accused her of ruining her childhood, and she went on to call Lexi a lot of names for marrying me. That was a penny drop for Lexi. She packed her bags and moved out, and seeing her packing the bags, Rene turned aggressive, started vandalizing the house. She stopped when Lexi threatened to call the police on her. Rene had already turned that house into a trash bin by piling up the food cans and leftovers. When Lexi was leaving the house, Rene accused Lexi of abandoning her and called her names at the top of her voice. Lexi came to me with teary eyes, and she wanted to bring in the furniture and other stuff, but she said that Rene would not let her have it. So I got a restraining order against Rene and went there with the packing team, and I get the household stuff. As expected, Rene did not let me in and cursed me from inside the house. I had to involve the police to get the stuff because most of the furniture and household items were mine. I took them when I shifted. When I moved in, their appliances and furniture were from the 1950s, so I upgraded all of them. Some of the stuff that was not mine was of Lexi's, so any which ways, Rene had no claim to any of the belongings. Rene kept abusing and cursing us until the cops threatened to arrest her. She kept staring at me with these dead eyes until we left. While leaving the place, Lexi tried to talk to her and said that we were still ready to help her if she wanted. Lexi said that she could help her get a job. Rene showed her the middle finger and went inside to pack her stuff because the owner had given the notice of vacating the house since I ended the contact. It's been a month since the incident, and meanwhile, we moved to a larger apartment. The last few months have been mentally daunting for us and our relationship, so we took a mini trip to clear our minds. Lexi said that she wanted to take up a job in order to move on, and I agreed with her thoughts. We came back yesterday from our vacation. I'm not sure if Lexi has actually moved or if she's just pretending to be happy. I find her in a better state now, and I'll update you guys if anything develops. Update number 3. Final update. Hey guys, I have an update for you. A few days after returning from the trip, Lexi told me that she got a call from Rene, who was crying and asking Lexi for help. She requested Lexi to meet her, and Lexi agreed. In their meeting, Rene informed about her plight and how she stayed with her best friend for a couple weeks before she was asked to pay rent or move out. Then she stayed with another friend for a week or so, who had also kicked her out. For the last few days, she has been homeless, surviving on the streets. She begged Lexi to take her in with us, and she promised to fix her attitude. Lexi gave her some money, enough for rent and a bed in a hostel, and food. Lexi also provided her with some contacts who could help her with a job. Rene was disappointed that her mother did not take her in, despite her poor condition, and I think Lexi has learned her lesson the hard way as to how to raise a child. I think she did the right thing by lending her the money and job contacts instead of just taking her in. Lexi said that Rene left the place in disappointment, saying that I had completely brainwashed Lexi and that she no longer is a mother that she used to be. Hearing the conversation, I did not feel that Rene had changed a bit. If we had taken her back into the house, she would have turned back to her entitled self. However, amidst all these, Lexi was worried that Rene might get into the wrong circle of drugs and other illicit activities. You know how vulnerable these kids are when it comes to drugs and other substance abuse, so she constantly checked on her, even if Rene hung up on her. Lexi tried her best to help Rene get a job, but she still was not serious about her life. So Lexi pulled her contacts to seek a job for Rene, but most of the time she did not turn up for the interview. Even if she appeared, she would sound uninterested to the employers and hence did not get a job even after 3 months of trying. Ultimately, Lexi gave up on her. When Rene exhausted all of her allowance, she again reached out to Lexi, sobbing her way of anger and poverty. Lexi took a hard call and shooed her away without a penny this time. She knew that her daughter would starve, but that was the only way to teach her a lesson. A few days ago, Lexi got a call from her previous employer saying that Rene went to him and pleaded for a job. She assured him that she would perform her best, and he informed Rene that, she was working as a sweeper at a pizza place, and she had installed confidence in him that she would work hard, hence he had given her a job. I think it's still too early to celebrate that Rene has reformed, because getting a job and staying in it are two completely different things, you know. I don't know whether she'll be able to put up with the work pressure and build a life for herself. I Hope this is the end of the saga and I don't have to deal with her again, but guys, well, that's it. So this is another one of those stories where the comment section is just ripping apart some of the people involved in the story, and in this case it was Lexi, and OP really. They were saying they let Rene get absolutely out of control and basically run the household. OP and his significant other Lexi, which was Rene's mother, was just nothing more than a floor mat. I do want to hear from you guys, and yes, we know how the story ended. Basically, Rene was on her own, so yeah, it did take some time, but eventually OP and Lexi both cut Rene off. She was homeless for a little bit, but it seems like at the end of the story she has a job now, so at least she's on the right track. But I do want to hear from you guys. Do you think that OP was a floor mat? Or do you think, it wasn't really his business since that's not his biological daughter? It should have been Lexi who was the one to handle all this from the get-go, and she just let Rene run all over her. Drop your opinions down below. My name's Mr. Reddito. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want more daily videos, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and just remember one thing, it's cool to be kind. See ya!